Recently, I posted on LinkedIn some short comment that seems to get quite a lot of traction, a lot of attention. So I guess that I must have hit a hot team, so to find some hot button. What was the post about? I wrote there that projects with zero interest from the sponsor should be stopped immediately. And that kind of resonates with a lot of people, at least judging from the messages that I received. Which is, by the way, a funny thing with LinkedIn that people sometimes do not comment directly, but they go to you privately, perhaps fearing that their bosses are reading their comments and they don't want to get any trouble. I don't know what is behind that. By the way, if you are facing the same behavior with your post, just let me know just, for the fun of it. So anyway, the absence of the project sponsor seems to be quite a frequent topic. And yes, I also have seen that a lot of times through my career, because I was pushing changes for more than 2 decades, both in corporate and non-corporate environments. I can tell you, yes, this happens. And if you are a project manager or a change manager, you must have experienced that too. So what you should do, should you knock on the door of the CEO and say, look, I haven't seen my project sponsor for the last 3 steering committees, so let's stop it? I don't think so, that this is the first thing to do. So this episode is going to be dedicated for you, project managers and change managers, give you some tips, hints, advices, how to deal with the situation, and most importantly, how to prevent this situation ever to happen. So let's talk about the change.
Change Talks, your passport to exciting changes in your business, career, and life. Change Talks, your podcast when it's time to do things differently.
So welcome to the episode for project managers and change managers who may struggle with the involvement, attention, and active support of their project sponsors. So perhaps you may not struggle right now, but if you dedicated your career to project management, I can guarantee you that you will face this kind of challenge sometime in the future. So better be prepared, better find out how to deal with that. And the idea here of this episode is not how to outsmart the project sponsor, how to manipulate the project sponsor. This is not the right kind of behavior. This is not how you establish a healthy working relationship with executive manager. It's about how to fix the typical issues. But first, start with the basics. What exactly is actually the role of the project sponsor? And contrary to the popular belief, they are not just some figurehead or someone who validates the project spendings. For many managers, both executives and project managers, the sponsor may be just a name that they put on the project charter. Yeah? There is a field for that, so let's put there somebody. As a funny experience, actually, in one company, I experienced some strange kind of, let's say, habit or rule that they believe that every executive manager should sponsor some kind of project. So they assigned projects to the people not because that they were linked to their field of interest or whatever, but just because it was their turn to sponsor some new upcoming project. This is not how it should look like, right? Because the project sponsor should be the champion of the change. Why does project need a sponsor? Because the project manager responsibilities and power are always, let's say, limited within the organization. And you are not able to operate on this high tiers of the organization in the boardroom. So that's why you should have a project sponsor, someone who is well established in the organization, someone who has the power that give you the support that you need. Because the project managers don't sit in the boardrooms, and also actually the board members don't have time to run the project. So it's a mutual relationship. And there are three key responsibilities that the project sponsor should do. First one is setting the strategic direction, which is about aligning the project with the organization's goals and the long-term vision. And not just at the very beginning, but also along the whole execution of the project, because the things evolve. You may start the project with the idea to do something because it makes a great sense at the time, but 6 months after that, the situation may change. So it's the role of the project sponsor to always check and control that the project is heading in the direction that is well aligned with the organization's long-term vision. The second responsibility of the project sponsor is to secure the resources. He or she is accountable for getting funding, people, and equipment, whatever. And if they need to be approved, then the project sponsor should be kind of the apostle advocating for the project on the executive floor to get these resources. The third thing why you need a project sponsor is because that should be the person to help you to remove the roadblocks. When project managers or project team hit a roadblock that they cannot overcome or bypass, it's the time for the project sponsor to provide them the guidance, the coaching, or to take the direct action if that's necessary. So these are the three key reasons why project needs a sponsor. Now, here's where this gets provocative, because far too often the sponsors may be absent or disengaged, and this is why we have this problem. And this is the recipe for disaster, for failure, if they do not fulfill some or all of them of these three goals. Because how you as a project manager can make strategic decisions if you are not empowered for them, they will not stick. How you can secure resources without access to the top management of the company or the committees that are in charge of these decisions. Or how can you effectively remove the roadblocks that are bigger than just you are facing if you are just on your own. So the change manager's success hinges on having an engaged and committed sponsor on the project. Can you substitute the role of the project sponsor? Yes, to some extent, but there are some drawbacks, because it requires a lot of experience and seniority and being well established in the organization. You need to know whom to approach, how to play the power game in the organization. And if you are there as external project manager, or you are there for quite a short period of time, you will not have this knowledge. So it will be very difficult for you to play that game. And also, playing or substituting the role of the sponsor is that it may actually backfire on you. If you make some decisions, then people may say, okay, these were unauthorized decisions. You didn't have the power to make these decisions. It may also create actually bad blood for bypassing somebody and say, okay, you decided, we were not aware, and you were trying somehow to sneak, through the organization. And that creates a lot of bad spirit, bad blood, which is very difficult then to resolve, to remove. So, yeah, when people ask me, can I actually play somehow the role of sponsor if the sponsor is not there? In a sense, it's possible, but it always sucks. Yeah? I have tried that myself personally out of necessity, and I really cannot recommend that. So the first thing that you should do actually to establish a good and healthy working relationship between you as a project manager and the sponsor is to get their attention. So that's about align the whys, the motivation. You need to demonstrate to the sponsor that acting as a sponsor is actually in his or her best interest. How you do that? You find their personal motivation to support the project. And here is one common mistake, one common misconception about the motivation. Because there is a big difference between the reason for the project and reason for the people around, to work on that, or for the sponsor in this case. Give you an example. Let's say that you are working on a project that should speed up some customer process. Now, you may say, okay, this is a great idea, and there is a great reason, to do that because we will have more satisfied, more happy customers. Does it mean that the executive officer cares about that? Not necessarily. So there is a big difference between the reason for the project and the reason for the person to work or to support that project. And believe me, people are very selfish. So you may talk about customer experience. You may say, okay, we need to do that to increase the profit of the company. The stakeholders need the new Porsche. Yeah, sorry. Okay, the revenue of the company or the Porsche of the owner doesn't count as a good motivation, unless their bonus depends also on that achievement. So how to find out what is there for the sponsor, how to motivate them. So first good idea is actually to find out what are their annual bonuses, what are their goals. So you can find that somehow from the superiors, from HQ, and also distinguish the official ones and the latest fashion. Because as I say, the goals are set typically at the beginning of the year. But they are not carved into the stone. They may change over time. So then in the late September, the company may be in slightly different situation. Some new fancy themes, topics can emerge. So trying, to navigate and stick to the original goals, which probably would not be the best idea of the right motivation for that person. So always trying to find out, what is the let's say the latest fashion, what is there for the person to really support you. Also watch how they behave, how they act. Look at with whom they cooperate within the organization, with whom not. This liking or disliking could be also quite an interesting motivator or the motivator for the project sponsor to actively support your project. And good source of other information, obviously, is to talk to people in kitchenettes, in corridors. There is always some rumor, some information that you can get out of that to better understand who is the person and how to motivate them. Also, sometimes, you may ask them directly, like, okay, so why you think this is a good idea to do this project? There is a caveat with this approach because usually they will give you this kind of official response because they expect or they feel that this is the expectation that they should give you this. Yeah, we do that because we want to make customers more happy and increase the net promoter score, blah blah blah. Okay, it's not always the right kind of motivation for them personally. So once you know what is there for them, it's a good idea to approach them and explain them how they will benefit from supporting this project, from the success of the project that they are sponsoring. You can do it in both direct or indirect way. I recommend to go with the indirect way, especially if you are trying to leverage some undercurrent, some things that probably should be said very openly. Yeah. So for example, if you want to play on the note that they are in some alliance with somebody in the organization, they are, for example, looking for some clear step forward, and they want to get support from another executive, and the other executive actually has some interest on the project, and you may highlight that in a nice way. Yeah? It's always, you as a project manager, it's also not only about, let's say, how well you execute all the tasks and manage the resources and so on. It's how you can play this kind of game, how you can get people on your side. It's a lot of soft skills involved as well as hard skills. So be assertive when approaching the project sponsor and be proactive in seeking their involvement. Also, do not wait for them to come to you and explain you why you should do that and how to cooperate. Be proactive. It's your job to establish this working relationship at the very beginning. And also agree with them very early on the modus operandi. But I know I will touch base on this later on. So once you explain them that supporting this project, making that project happen is in their best interest, the next step is to make them accountable. Accountability means that you hook them, that you tie them to the project's wins and misses. It's not enough just to sign the project charter and then disappear. They need to be there at the every step of the project along the whole way. Accountability also means that decisions are more sticky, which prevents the chaos and running in circles. Because if every decision is challenged in 2 weeks' time and you need to go back and revalidate that, it's a bad stuff, right? So if the project sponsor is part of that, if the project sponsor is accountable for these decisions, you have this kind of backup behind you to make these decisions sticky and progress more effectively. So how you make them accountable? Always try to make them part of the decision process. So make sure that they actually attend the steering committees or other committees or meetings when the important decisions are made. Ask also for their opinion always. Because if you ask somebody for the opinion, it makes that person involved. It makes them feel important, engaged. And you want that kind of engagement. And beware, because the accountability is not actually creating the alibi for you. That's the wrong sort of mindset. I've seen that some project managers try always to send all the minutes and so on. I think to validate and confirm with the project sponsor, because they were afraid that one time in the future, one day, somebody is going to come and challenge this or that. So they wanted to have everything documented. It creates some kind of bad spirit within the project, and it creates some sort of agenda or administration that's not very pleasant and appealing to the people around. So you definitely should avoid that. So find a healthy balance, making sure that decisions are documented and stick, but not something that is too bureaucratic. So this was the second step. The third step that you should do to make sure that your collaboration with a sponsor is the working one is to clarify on the expectations. The project sponsor needs to know what you expect from him or for her. So, for example, if you foresee specific problems with certain people or in certain areas, ask them for the help upfront. Tell them, I suspect or I'm afraid that I will face this kind of hurdle. So just for you, to know, if I hit that problem, I will come back to you and I will need your help to resolve that. On the other hand, if you want to have more of a free hand and not to have the project sponsor breathing heavily on your back, on your shoulders, try to explain them also. Say, okay, I want to have some kind of autonomy in managing the project, and agree where you can have this autonomy and when you need to consult the project sponsor, and agree that line upfront. Because once you make some decision and the sponsor feels that was over the line, then you have a problem. And don't leave the sponsors in the dark. Don't expect them to find out this kind of operating rhythm. You need to take the steps actively. You are the project leader. It's your responsibility, not there. With this point is connected to the next one. Be honest with them. Be honest with the project sponsor. The clear communication and the honest communication is a big prevention for any messes. Nobody likes bad surprises or being played. You cannot expect the sponsor to cover your back unless there is a mutual trust. Communicate honestly. Do not cover up for any mistakes or mishaps. Admit them early, because that way you give them chance to help you out, actually. I always told my people that if they make mistakes in a good faith, that's fine. But they have to tell me very early. Because if they tell me very early, I can help them to solve these problems. But what definitely will make me very, very mad is that when I find out that they made a mistake and they tried, to cover up. Because let's imagine that I go for some committee, I'm going to fight there for the project, and then suddenly some boom information, somebody pulls out something there and blows in my face, like, there was this problem, there was this mistake, this deadline was not made, and so on. You don't want that. And the project sponsor doesn't want that either. So make sure that you are not putting them into these troublesome situations. Be honest. It builds also the trust, and the more they trust you, the more likely they are actually to give you the support and the protection that you may need. And you may be amazed how this investment in this trust, it's human capital, actually can pay off. And it helps you also with the next important area or next step is to prevent the blame game. That's the elephant in the room, right? Because if the project fails, the project sponsor shouldn't be pointing fingers at you as a project manager, saying it's your fault and I didn't know that and so on. So their presence in the project also protects you as a project manager, because that sometimes things go apeshift for reasons out of your control. Could be some market turmoils, fuck ups on the vendor side, whatever it is. You do not have the full control over them. And these times, unfortunately, are great times, to look for a scapegoat. And the project manager is a very handy one to take the blame. So you want to make the sponsor actively and visibly involved, because that gives you some kind of shelter. It also means that you should give them the credit. Make the cooperation a true win-win. Recognize their value. Give them the credit for the achievements of the project. And I mean, not just when the project is done. There is this report out and, okay, we finally did this after 2 years, so clap the hands, project sponsor, thank you. No, you should do that along the way. You should do that constantly. Whenever there is some kind of achievement, milestone, and so on, do not forget to give them the credit, to thank them. I know that sometimes the project the project managers are tempted to grab all the attention because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of demanding work and personal investment that they do into the execution of the project. So once there is some success, it feels so good, right? It feels like, oh, I did it. I'm a good boy. And they want to see and they want to get this kind of appreciation. So they have the tendency to steal, the light on the stage. Don't do that. Be smart. Share that, glamour of the moment together with the sponsor. Again, it's an investment that will pay off, believe me. And now what to do is if everything fails. I just gave you a couple of tips, recommendations, what you should do as a prevention of the situation that the project sponsor is not involved, is not supporting your project. Let's assume that you have done all this and now you are still on the dark side. That usually means that you don't know something, that you must have missed the bigger picture. Because otherwise, why the project sponsor is still detached, why the project sponsor is still absent. That is usually because you are missing some important piece of the puzzle. Perhaps the company is turning the wheel. They could be changes in the strategy. There could be plans for cost cuts. Some mergers and acquisitions could be on the horizon. Organizational changes or reorganization. The sponsor may actually be leaving the company. These are the situations that you as a project manager are usually not aware of. If you are working on the project, you are just deep into this topic, some sort of funnel view, and you don't have access to this information. What is going on in the high floors of the organization? So, if you actually see this kind of mismatch, it is very often indication of something like that the wind is changing the direction for some reason, and the project that was very important for some time is suddenly losing the support of the organization. So try to find out what is going on, how you do that. Okay, the first thing is try to ask the sponsor. Yeah, why not to be open? Why not to say, look, we started this project 6 months ago. Everything was fine, but now I'm feeling that there is some, slowdown in the momentum, in the support. Is there anything I should be aware of? And if you actually established a good relationship with the sponsor beforehand, my experience is that they will open somehow. They will give you some hints. Yeah? It didn't really happen to me in the situations that the person said, oh, I know, everything is fine, knowing that in 2 days, there will be big announcement of organization change, for example, and so on. Other step could be to ask for the project review. Yeah, so to get it more on the official tier, official level. It's okay, we are running this project for some time. Let's do some big review with the management of the company to find out if it's still aligned with the objectives and the strategy of the company. And again, I've seen some projects at this moment to evaluate it, and the management saying, well, actually, yeah, it's maybe a good idea to stop that because it's not anymore in our interest. or they will say, okay, no, it's still fine. We just lost a track or attention for a while, but keep going. So this revalidation, this review, is also a useful tool in your toolbox as a project manager. Now, in a case that still you have done all this and the project is remaining with the low priority, zero interest from the sponsor, you are not having the resources, people are then sensing that, so the involvement in the project execution is decreasing. What you should do then? And I always say there are actual situations, there are moments in life, in your career as a project manager, or in the life of the project, where there is no shame to walk away. On the contrary, I think that it's a shame to blindly work on a project that no one wants, no one supports, and no one would benefit from. But you need to understand when is the right time for this breaking point to make this kind of decision. And if you walk away from a bad project, believe me, it's actually better for your personal brand, for your career, than to remain there, ride the dead horse, and then to have a sticker on you. That's the guy, who was in charge of that bad-smelling, unsuccessful project. So make your choices, make them wisely. Always, before you make this, ultimate decision, make sure that you leverage and you tried all the other tools that you may have to prevent the situation or to resolve that situation up front. So in conclusion, the project sponsor is a critical element in the success of the project execution or in the change execution. And as a change manager, as a project manager, you need to be proactive in engaging the project sponsor. And I just gave you a couple of tips and hints, how to do that. If you have some other experiences, other advices, let me know, comment, share your thoughts. Perhaps I may have missed something. It's always good to see the opinions and experiences of other people. If you like Change Talks podcast, the content, please give the episode or the show the 5-star rating, subscribe, because that helps the algorithm to recognize it and to push this content to more people that may benefit from this content. So please help me out in spreading this information and tips to other people as well.